What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome back to the Dapper Snapper Gaming channel, and welcome back to How Do I Want to Do This? This is our series where we take a look at all playable options available to players in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, then we rank them on a scale of 1 to 10 and either build them or fix them depending on how they rank. Now today is an exciting day because we are building a Shepherd Druid, and I know that these are very popular and these are a lot of fun, and so I wanted to give my take on the Shepherd Druid. It's a very simple take, and it's not a difficult build to follow, but I think it's effective because the Shepherd Druid really has most everything that it needs within its own kit. So I hope you guys are looking forward to that. If so, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. As you can see, most people who watch the channel are not subscribed, so please don't be one of those people. Help us out to reach our goal of 2,000 by the end of this year. We are on track, but I need your help to get there, so thank you again for your support. And of course, share the video with your friends and click the bell so you're notified when new videos are uploaded. So like we talked about earlier this week in our ranking video, which I'll put a link to up in the icon above right there, we talked about how this is kind of the ultimate summoner, and this is really one of two summoners in the entire game of D&D, at least in definition, I guess. It's this one, and then there is a particular wizard that also really kind of specializes in summoning, but that's about it. Right, so your options are really limited, rules is written, but this is one of the better ones. I will say the wizard is very effective as well at summoning things, but this allows you to summon aminals and little creatures to help you out, and I think it's a lot of fun. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and see what we've got in store today. Starting off, of course, with our race. We are not going variant human. We are not going custom lineage. I know, I'm surprising everyone by doing this. But there is a particular race in Monsters of the Multiverse that everyone, when it first got released, said had gotten nerfed into the ground and would never play it again because it's now trash. But you know, it is so perfect as a Shepherd Druid that I couldn't pick anything else. Like, no feat that I could have chosen would be better than this race, and that is the new Kobold. The new Kobold in Monsters of the Multiverse has several really awesome things. Number one, you get a +1 in 3 different stats. So we use modified standard array on this channel, so 17, 15, 13, 12, 10, and 8. So I can have an 18, 16, and a 14 starting off. I don't have to do 2 +1s or a 2 and a 1 and then worry about like weird half feats and that sort of thing. I just nail all of that down. If you're doing point buy, for instance, you could do 3 15s if you wanted to. You don't necessarily need to on this build, but you could do at least 2 15s and then kind of even out the rest of them. So that's also really good. We get Dark Vision. We get Draconic Cry, which is kind of the main reason we're here. Draconic Cry allows you to kind of yell at something, and then every other creature gets advantage on the next attack. Do you see where I'm going with this? Because now we have summons. It's not you give a bonus to, you know, a couple of creatures. It is all attacks on that creature that you just yelled at. So you walk up to that creature, get within 10 feet, yell at him, and now all of your summons have advantage. That's pretty awesome. There's no saving throw, so you don't have to worry about Fairy Fire going away. You don't have to worry about using a spell slot. You don't have to worry about any of that. That is the single most useful thing that we get on this race, and it is awesome. And it works so well on the Shepherd Druid, I literally couldn't choose anything else. It's too good to pass up. And we, of course, also get to choose our type of Kobold here. I'm going to go with Kobold Sorcery for our little buff here. I think that Draconic Sorcery is our best use of this. The others are okay, but Draconic Sorcery is usually going to be your better one. Here, I would probably either grab something like Firebolt for just reliable damage, or you could also pick up like Booming Blade if you wanted to deal some stuff at melee. We're not going to really be focused on dealing a bunch of damage with our quarterstaff. We will have one, but it's not a huge deal because really we're going to be the ones trying to sit in the back and let our let our friends do all of the talking and let our friends do all of the damaging. So if you don't pick up Booming Blade, really not a big deal, but you could cry, then Booming Blade them and be like, I dare you to run away from all of my summons that are getting ready to kick your butt. So that's also a thing that you could do at the same time. So your options are out there. I think it's really, really cool. For stats, again, like I just said, we use our modified standard array here. Of course, if you're using point buy, if you're using regular standard array, rolled stats, any other kind of method, then your rolls will probably look different than mine, but that's okay. Just adapt yours to whatever it is that you want to do. If I were doing point buy on this, I would probably take 2 15s and a 13 in my top 3 stats in order and then dump the rest. But you do you. It's your character. You know how you want to play that character, and I encourage you to play it how you want. But the way I'm going to do this is 17 in wisdom, 15 in constitution, 13 in dexterity, our 12 in strength, 10 charisma, and 8 intelligence. We don't really need strength, charisma, or intelligence, so do what you want with those, but we are just going to put our +1s in those top 3 stats and go ahead and make all of those even numbers, which feels really good. It's nice having an 18 here at level 1. It's also nice having a 16 in constitution at level 1. It's really good, really nice starting point. For equipment, just the standard stuff, some non-magical medium armor if you can get a hold of it. If you're gonna have to use leather, studded leather for now, that's fine. Just go ahead and pick up some non-metal medium armor when you can. If you need to craft some or anything like that, talk to your DM. I definitely encourage when you face something like an Umber Hulk or a purple worm or something like that that has a thick shell or something, even a dragon, try to turn that into armor, either with an artificer friend or a local merchant that can make armor or anything like that. Do that, and that can be your way of getting around your inability to wear metal armor. Of course, you can use metal weapons if you want to, but I think it's strange to only have one or the other, so I typically recommend a quarterstaff. But if you wanted a metal weapon, you are more than welcome to use it. So that is an option for you. Of course, I would take a wooden shield here as well and a quarterstaff that you could double as your druidic focus. So let's start taking some levels here, and at level 1, we're going to be a druid. I know that I don't start off in the regular class that I'm featuring a whole lot, but we're doing such light multi-classing on this build, it makes no sense not to start druid. There's just too much that I want to rush to get in the druid kit that I really don't want to put it off at all. So we're going to start straight off with druid, and we're going to go for a little while. Then we will multi-class very lightly and come right back. So very simple build. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. So at Druid 1, we of course get Druidic and spell casting, and so we of course get to make our language out of sticks and leaves and mud and whatever you want. And of course, other creatures that don't know Druidic or have a hard time even picking up that it is Druidic. It also can be a spoken language, which is good. So you've got your own little secret code that you can hold over the heads of the rest of your party. And you also get spellcasting, of course, one of the main features of being a druid. And so I'm just going to name some just some suggestions for you. So we already got a free one with Draconic Sorcery, but we could also take things like Druidcraft, Guidance, Shillelagh, and Thorn Whip on top of that. Of course, if you took a metal weapon, Shillelagh is useless to you, so don't use that. Use something else. You could always throw magic stones at people if you wanted to. It uses wisdom if you've casted it, so there you go. That's a good ranged option for you. And then as far as first level spells, we're probably not going to be using Wild Shape all that much, at least not for its intended purpose. I would probably use it a lot more for Wild Companion to give advantage to your friends. That's just me. I think that that's a little bit of a better use of our Wild Shape in this case, unless you need to specifically be able to swim, or if you want to do the scouting and fly up and do something at later levels, then you can. But overall, these aren't going to scale great. We don't have any great ways of really buffing ourselves. We can give temporary HP if we're within our own aura, but I mean, it's not the best, and our attacks are still not going to be magical because we're not technically summoned. We are just transforming, so it doesn't count. So overall, I would focus on spells that really can be used outside of Wild Shape. So this is why I'm suggesting Absorb Elements. I normally don't take this one just because if we're in Wild Shape, can't use it, but it's useful here. Cure Wounds, must bring. Entangle, Fairy Fire. Fairy Fire is somewhat situational here, but if you've got a big group of enemies together, blow Fairy Fire. If you've got just one enemy or maybe two that are really close to each other where you can get that cry off, go for that. But Fairy Fire is probably less useful on this build than on most builds, which is really weird to say. Really weird to say, but that's just how it is. Good Berry is a must here because we are actually going to be healing for quite a bit here with this subclass, which is good. So Good Berry is always nice, and of course Healing Word, a great bonus action heal. You know, we don't have a ton to do on our bonus action normally as a druid. You know, here at level 2, we're going to of course get our Spirit Totem, and then we also have this. So we're starting to fill in some things to use our bonus action on, which is nice. And speaking of which, at Druid 2, we get Wild Shape. Like I said, Wild Shape and turning into a beast ourselves, we don't have a huge way of buffing this feature. So we're a little hung out to dry overall when it comes to scaling this. Right now it's fine. At level 2, being a CR 1/4 beast is fine. You know, we can be a regular wolf, but I mean, it's okay, right? It's nothing crazy. It's not going to blow anybody's minds. But Wild Companion, however, is really nice. Being able to summon an owl friend and be able to fly by and give advantage to your friends once a turn, that's really good. And you can't really deny just how strong that is. I think it's good. I really like it. So I think I would use that more than your Wild Shape feature on this build, personally. Then we also get Speech of the Woods, so we can now not only speak Sylvan, but we can kind of communicate with beasts, which is interesting. It's not very well worded, but it's a thing you can do. And of course, we get our Spirit Totem here as well. This is very useful. So as a bonus action, we can create a totem with a 30-foot aura, and we can move it around on our bonus action, and it gives one of 3 different buffs here. And really, it depends on your situation in which ones you want to use. So if you have people who are topped up, but you want to give them a little bit extra on the top, you can always go for the Bear Spirit, which gives them temporary HP, which is good. So right now you're giving 7 temp HP, which is not terrible by any means, and it's going to scale as you go eventually to 25, which is pretty good. The Hawk Spirit, whenever something's in there, you can use your reaction to give it advantage. Probably wouldn't use that one all that much because we do have Wild Companion, we also have Fairy Fire, we also have our Draconic Cry. Probably wouldn't use Hawk all that much on this build, to be honest. And then Unicorn, of course, we can heal. This is definitely one that I would consider using. So Bear and Unicorn are definitely ones that I would use on this build, much more useful than the Hawk. Then at Druid 3, no features, but we do get 2nd level spells, and so we now start actually getting access to the spells that we need to start doing what we need to do. So we get Enlarge Reduce, which is a good option for not only your friends, but also if you have a powerful summon, you could enlarge it, which is a really awesome thing, depending on concentration, of course. Healing Spirit is also not a bad bring here because, again, we are really going to be focused on healing and keeping our summons topped up as much as we can and keep them alive. Heat Metal, classic. Hold Person, Lesser Restoration, Moonbeam, Pass Without Trace, Spike Growth, all great. We also get Summon Beast here. Summon Beast is a 2nd level spell, and it's really our earliest form of summoning. And it's not a terrible spell for a 2nd level spell, to be honest. Is it the best summoning spell in the game? No, but it's also really the only one that we get access to that is worth anything at 2nd level. So not too bad. I would use this. This would hold me over until 5th level for sure. Give it a try. I think it's not too bad. At Druid 4, we of course get our first ASI or feat, and we are going to of course take Warcaster. To no one's surprise, Warcaster is a must. We have to concentrate on pretty much all of our spells in which we create our summons. If we are losing concentration, then we might as well just not cast the spell. So taking Warcaster is a huge way to buff ourselves. I love that. We also can, of course, use our spells as reactions in order to do attacks of opportunity. So if you took Firebolt earlier, you could do that, or you could do the Booming Blade in that case as well. That's probably what I would use, is just use one of those cantrips and just pop a little bit of extra damage onto them as they try to run away, which is really, really good. You know, they corner you, and then you summon a beast right next to you, and then it tears them apart. They go to run, you hit them. It's nice. It's a nice little combo here at level 4. And then we also, of course, also get our wild shape improvement here just to bolster that a little bit more. We can now swim, and we can go up to CR 1/2, which is really good. If you're confused on what is really good to use at these levels, my generic druid guide will be up in the icon above right there for you to check out. That has a huge guide in it just for what to transform into at each appropriate level. Next level, Druid 5, we get no features, but we do get 3rd level spells, and you better believe we're taking Conjure Animals. Conjure Animals is very easily one of the best summoning spells in the game. You can summon a ton of CR1 quarter creatures, and typically I'm going to say to take the Deep Rothe if you can. The Deep Rothe and the Cow, and there's another that I mentioned in there as well, that are really, really good for their gore attack and the ability to back up a little bit and deal a bunch of damage by running. And when there's a ton of them on the field at once, you can very easily do over 100 damage in a turn. No sweat. It is incredibly effective at dealing a bunch of damage. They also can die very quickly because they don't have much HP. And so one fireball is going to take out pretty much all of them. So that is one thing you have to be careful of. Their saving throws are not the best, but it is what it is. You get what you pay for there, but they deal a bunch of damage overall, and it's just fun having all these little yaks running around dealing a bunch of damage. On top of that, of course, Erupting Earth and Revivify are must brings, and finally Summon Fae. Summon Fae is another really good option that I definitely would recommend trying out, especially on a Shepherd Druid. The Summon Fae feature allows you to summon just an entirely different vibe of creature. So if beasts aren't your thing, Fae might be, and it's very much already built into the flavor. They are going to get all of the buffs coming from the Mighty Summoner feature here at the next level, and so you're going to be able to buff them up really nicely. And so speaking of which, at level 6 we get Mighty Summoner, so they now are bulkier and deal magical damage if they didn't already. That's huge, and it really is about the moment that we are going to start falling off on our damage around level 6, 7, 8, where things are going to start having resistance or immunity to non-magical bludgeoning, piercing, slashing. That's when we get the ability to get around it, and that's what keeps these summons relevant at this level and beyond. Again, this is something that I cannot put off because it's just that good. At Druid 7, we of course do not get any features, but we get 4th level spells, and there are a ton of them that I want. Conjure Minor Elementals is not terrible. Is it great? No. The conjure spells, the ones that say conjure at the beginning, are from an earlier point in D&D where they aren't nearly as easy to control and aren't as good as the summon spells are that came a lot later. Because of how they work in the action economy. So it's one of those things that we have to consider the modern ramifications of how the old system worked and how the new companion system works. I much prefer all of the summon, which is why I think Summon Beast is effective there early at level 3. But, you know, here we also get Summon Fae at 3rd level spells, and we're going to get a couple of others here. So Conjure Minor Elementals, Conjure Woodland Beings is also a very effective use here. I know a lot of people really, really like that one as well. Dominate Beast, Fire Shield, Giant Insect is not a bad bring here because it also will fall in that category. Polymorph, Summon Elemental, of course, being there as well. You're not going to get the beast or fae help there, but still it's a summoning spell. And then of course, Wall of Fire to round out that level. So at level 8, we decide that there might be a change in the way that we see life. You know, we're conjuring all of these things, and maybe we're wondering how we got access to all of this power, how we got access to all of this healing, especially. And so we're going to take one level in Cleric, and more specifically in Life Cleric. I know Life Cleric is one of those that a lot of people really, really like because it is the dedicated healer, and it works really well on this because we are going to be casting healing spells left and right. So whenever we cast a healing spell of first level or higher, we actually get a bonus to that heal. This goes a long way. And it also applies to Goodberry, mind you, which is really, really interesting. But there's so many ways that we can apply this to all of our healing spells, of which we get many. And so I think adding this on here is really nice. We don't need any extras. We of course get some spells here. We also get proficiency in heavy armor. Not that we're probably going to use that, I wouldn't imagine, unless you can get some like really strong kind of hide from something that's like basically borderline metal. That's again maybe a purple worm. I guess that's really the only thing that kind of comes to my mind is a purple worm, maybe, or maybe like an adult dragon or something with really hard scales. Maybe your DM might consider that heavy armor and the same thing as half plate or full plate, but I don't know. That's up to your DM. That's a discussion for your DM, but I would assume that you do not have that for this build. At least when I'm thinking of this build, I don't think of that. But as far as our spellcasting goes, we can pick up things like Sacred Flame, Spare the Dying, and Toll the Dead. Toll the Dead, of course, giving us another great cantrip damaging option, of which we really didn't have a ton of options before without our Draconic Sorcery. So that's why I really recommend having something like Firebolt to have that ranged option, because otherwise we don't have a ton out there that is super reliable on the cantrip side. So this gives us another really good option. We of course get Bless and Cure Wounds for free here. Bless is a fantastic pickup, obviously. Absolutely love this spell, and Cure Wounds is fantastic. Yes, we already know it, but that just means that we saved a prepared slot on our Druid list, so that's also really good. Guiding Bolt and Shield of Faith are also really nice options. So at level 9, we're done. We're done with Cleric, and so we're going right back to Druid, and we're not looking back. So let's keep on trucking. At Druid 8, we of course get another ASI or feat. The best thing that we can do at this point is to raise our wisdom and to just go ahead and max out our saving throws, max out our ability to hit. Just capping that off at 20 feels really good. It is level 9, but you know, it's fine. It's really not terribly late in the progression, at least compared to where other characters normally would get it. So I think it's totally fine to pick that up here. And of course, we get our final wild shape improvement as well. I didn't feel nearly as bad about putting off this wild shape improvement just because we're not using wild shape all that much. You know, the biggest thing is that we held off going from 3 to 4 hours on our wild companion, but I mean, it's not that big of a deal, to be honest, so I'm fine with it. At Druid 9, we of course get no features, but we do get our 5th level spells. We get Awaken, and Awaken is one that I normally don't recommend, but it makes so much sense on the Shepherd Druid that I couldn't go without it, right? Awaken is how you become the Lorax, essentially, and get your revenge. Conjure Elemental is of course here. Greater Restoration, Insect Plague, which is pretty cool. Make sure that you talk to your friend about the combination of Insect Plague and Animal Shapes. If you have a friend who can cast Insect Plague and you can cast Animal Shapes a lot later, your DM will hate you, just so you know. Mass Cure Wounds and Summon Draconic Spirit are all really, really nice. I love the Summon Draconic Spirit spell personally. Does it fall under your guidelines for a lot of these? No, but you still can buff it with your aura if you want to use it, so it is still viable. At Druid 10, we of course get Guardian Spirit, and so this just buffs our aura, being able to heal our spirits that we have made with whenever they are beasts or fae anyway. At Druid 11, we get no features, but we do get 6th level spells in the form of Conjure Fae, Heal, and also Sunbeam. At Druid 12, we get an ASI or a feat, and I'm just going to bump Constitution, get that up to an 18. Again, we're helping out our HP here. We're helping out our Constitution saving throws. We already have advantage, but now we have a +4 to that on top of everything, which is really good. You could, of course, take Resilient Constitution, which, yes, you would end up with an odd number, but you still would be able to have the proficiency there. So ultimately that would add more overall to your specific saving throws. So that is an option for you if you want to do that. Druid 13, no features, but we do get, of course, 7th level spells. Draconic Transformation, Firestorm, and Symbol are all really compelling options. At Druid 14, we get Faithful Summons, and this, of course, allows us to cast Conjure Animals as a 9th level spell whenever we go down, which is super handy for keeping us up and just gunking up the action economy of our DM, which is always going to be a good thing. And at Druid 15, we of course get 8th level spells. Animal Shapes, Earthquake, Feeble Mind, and Sunburst are all really compelling options there. Druid 16, we're capping off Constitution at a 20. Nothing feels better than going ahead and maxing that out. It just feels really good. It feels nice. At Druid 17, no features, but we get 9th level spells. Basically anything but Storm of Vengeance. Take all of them. They're really nice. And then Druid 18, we finally get to Timeless Body and Beast spells, but it doesn't feel nearly as satisfying on this Druid. It just doesn't feel all that great. So, I mean, I could definitely see a case to be made of multi-classing again once you get past Druid 17 and get that 9th level slot. Because Timeless Body, I don't care about, and Beast spells, we don't care unless we're in Wild Shape, and we're not using Wild Shape all that much. So I could definitely see going back to Cleric here if you wanted to, or possibly doing a dip into something else if you really feel froggy. I'm just going to keep going in Druid. That's just me, because I would like to get one more feat at level 20. But I could definitely see some multi-classing here as well. So at Druid 19, level 20 overall, we're going to take the tough feat so that we are that much harder to kill because we have so much more HP than we did before. So that is our build. Let me know what you think down below. It's super simple, but it's really effective. And that really just speaks volumes to not only the Kobold and the way that it's worded, but also just the Shepherd Druid. It's just a really strong Druid. It's really well put together and it makes a really effective summoner. Now, here are some honorable mentions for you, some other options to consider. The Ranger. The Ranger is not a bad option here at all. Of course, you could go Beastmaster and summon that, and then also summon other creatures as well. So that is a viable option as well. You could also go with a different cleric. The Twilight Cleric comes to mind, to me anyway, of having an aura that's on you and having an aura that is with your totem spirit. So there are just auras everywhere and you are just a safe place for everyone, both here and there. So that's really cool. As far as feats go, this is one time where I'm going to say the Chef feat. The Chef feat actually is not terrible here because you can make these treats and you can make them even better, which is just fun. And it just makes sense, right? You make all these treats and you give them to all of your animal friends that you summon. I love it. It's super fun. And then of course the Healer feat is also really nice here. It makes a whole lot of sense. As far as other races go, I did consider the Shatterkai. The Shatterkai would allow you to get around the battlefield a little easier and get out of danger. Again, we're not using Wild Shape very much here, so being able to just pop around the battlefield and teleport is good, and definitely would make a lot of sense. And finally, the Loxodon. The Loxodon is quickly becoming one of my favorite races. Whether typically wisdom based or not, it is just a fun race being an elephant person. I am actually going to be playing a Loxodon in our upcoming Wild Beyond the Witchlight campaign once we finish Curse of Strahd, and I am just looking forward to it so much because I think there's just so much flavor there. But they get some awesome features as well. So you of course get the natural buff to your armor class, which is good. You get your trunk, which you can do things with, which is really fun. It's just a lot of fun, and it comes with some really cool features. So that is all for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Next week, we're going to be talking about the Circle of the Spores Druid. So we're going very different from summoning all these things to focusing on fungal plants and weird stuff like that. So it's going to be fun, though. I think it's going to be a really fun time talking about that. Make sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss it. And of course, stay safe out there. Stay healthy. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.